So we are moving into the second half of the year. A new month means new books, so I picked out 10 new fantasy and sci-fi books releasing in the month of July that you should know about. We've been really lucky this year. The new releases have been... First up on July 1st, we have Why Dead Gods Weep. Now this is a sequel, and I must say, it was the cover that really caught me with this one. It's just so cool and unique. And I hadn't even heard of the first one, but now I really want to read them. And again, it does have one of my favorite comparison titles of Final Fantasy, but also Enki Jemisin and Joe Abercrombie. Those are some heavy-hitting comparison titles. But because this is a sequel, we will go over the synopsis for book 1, and then you'll know if you want to continue on to book 2 or not. Sometimes the truth is worse than the lie, and Eowyn's choices will always come back to haunt him. The fragile axis of power is shifting, and Uriji, the Seani, would rather be sat at the back of his workbench studying the threads of Alaka that twist through all variety of crystal and ore. At least there no one threatens to put him, or anyone else, to permanent rest. In self-imposed exile, Eowyn has taken up the life of an ore smuggler. In exchange for smithing talents, a small crew of principled thieves have welcomed him into the fold, assisting his search for the elusive ore that only he seems to be able to touch. The rebellious second sibling of the Thasian legate, Seriu Thasian, has wrangled power beyond his imagination. Power he comes to find is seldom given freely. A mercenary's life is never easy, especially when unwelcomed interlopers remain the only connection held with darling Ryu Thasian. But Sakari would be damned if she didn't help the only family she never needed. I don't feel like I got a lot of information about the narrative from that synopsis. However, I am interested, and again, the cover looks awesome, so color me intrigued. Coming out on July 2nd, we have The Heart of Grimm. This is another one that was a complete cover eye catch. I was going through looking at books for this video, doing some research, and I found this one with the author over on Instagram, and I was like, wow, that is one awesome cover. Mortals cower from the Blood Moon's gaze. Monsters thrive from it. Corbin awakens next to a ruined battlefield of 2 warring nations as the lone survivor. With no memories of his identity or past, he joins a group of monster hunters called Kendra Dawn, all while attempting to silence the strange, dark powers that begin to manifest within him. As the war continues, Corbin and his allies must survive amongst the lands plagued by wild creatures, war, magic, and the blood moon that strengthens the monstrosities that lurk beneath it. In the midst of the chaos, an eerie voice within his mind calls out to him, reminding him of the inevitable. You are not meant to save. That is a really cool hook. I love the idea of a lone survivor waking up on this battlefield and everybody else is dead, and I'm guessing that's what's in the cover. And the blood moon is really cool too. It just reminds me of the blood moon in Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. Super cool. Super quick interlude, because this video is sponsored by myself. If you've been part of the channel for a while, I did do a run of merch a year and a half ago. Well, we have new merch. It is Dragon Bone and Dragon Plate. And I am so happy with how these turned out. The rough idea was it was kind of like an active wear, throw on top while you're going to the gym, or if you're just at home and you want to read. So that's why the Dragon Plate design does have a dragon holding weight plates, which is kind of where the wordplay comes in. But there's also the Dragon Bone design, so it's not just for people who want to show off their fantasy lovingness when they go to the gym. So this will only be available until August 5th, so if you do want one of the designs that has been on screen, that is linked in the description below. Coming out on July 3rd, we have Stone and Sky by Ben Aronovich. This is the 10th book in the Rivers of London series, so it's a huge series, a really popular series. I have heard it being compared to Dresden Files. That was one of the comparison titles I had heard from this series. So I'm guessing if you're a huge fan of this series, you're going to know that the 10th book is coming out. However, for those who know nothing about this series, we will go over the very short synopsis for book 1, and then you'll know if you want to continue on to book 2, all the way up to book 10. There's plenty reading for you here. My name is Peter Grant, and I used to be a probationary constable in that mighty army for or Justice, known to all right-thinking people as the Metropolitan Police Service, and to everyone else as the Filth. My story really begins when I try to make a witness statement from a man who was already dead. I also want to add that the first quote in this is Ben Aravich's masterfully crafted world of magic, ghosts, and gruesome crimes gives the late, great Terry Pratchett a run for his money, which is very high praise. It does make me interested to know if there's like humor elements. Was that where the comparison there was coming from? I'm not sure, but I have heard it's kind of like a murder mystery-esque story with very short sort of episodic novels, a bit like Dresden Files, which is not in shot, but just trust me, it's roughly where I'm gesturing to. So if you're interested in that series, the 10th book is coming out on July 3rd. It seems like the middle of July is a little bit quieter because now we are jumping up to July 20th for Mercy, Tears of the Fallen. A paragon left for dead, Ilvist Lightseeker sought peace, but peace had other plans. 34 years passed, the blade he buried must rise again. As he hunts the ones who shattered his world, another exile awakens. A Ravane, a man drunk on grief and bound by blood. A minstrel must bring the two together in a war against a rising ill fate. Viala, a lost love, unexpectedly returns and sparks a fire in Eravane. But will it be enough to quell his thirst for vengeance? And will the world unfolding around her offer the chance for the future she has long desired? Salasmir, Blood of the Reckoning, must answer the call of duty once again. Hade and Nira, twins of the Stained, hunt for sacred artifacts for their false king. Staven and Illatu must travel across the Sundered Sea in order to do the same, but for their once wise father, who holds damning secrets of his own. This sounds like it's going to be a very grand, epic story. There are a lot of named characters in that synopsis, and also it does have some comparison titles of Elden Ring, Malazan Book of the Fallen, and Joe Abercrombie, which is definitely the vibe I kind of got from that synopsis, so that sounds really cool. And the author Chance Dillon does have a YouTube channel where he talks a bit about his writing, so I will link that in the description below as well. Coming up on July 22nd, we have the 7 recipes of revolution. This was one of my most anticipated reads of the year because it was just one of those really unique kind of setups that sounded really, really cool, where it does sound like the food is tied to the magic system, which is just not something I've seen before. Not to mention that the comparison titles are The Bear, the TV show, Attack on Titan, the anime, and for fans of Pierce Brown and Jay Kristoff. That's really cool. Paprik is a common butcher, carving slabs of meat from gargantuan monsters so elite chefs can prepare magic-granting meals for the rich. But Paprik's true passion is cooking, and if he can learn the secret art, his dreams of liberating his people and sharing the monster's magic with the world will come true. He steals the precious ingredients needed to practice recipes at home, but if he's caught, he'll be executed. As his desperation grows, he ventures into the black market and uncovers a spice imported from unknown lands. Combining it with the last of his stolen meat, he cooks a dish the world has never tasted before, with side effects he couldn't have foreseen. A dish's magic grows Paprik to kaiju size, and legends of his powers spread among the people. Immediately, the rulers arrest him, but Paprik convinces them to make him a chef's apprentice if they ever want to learn his recipe. However, his exposure to the world of high cuisine reveals a rot at its center, and with his new power, rebellion is only a few recipes away. This is so cool. I love the sound of this idea of food granting magical abilities, this brand new recipe, this political machinations of the cuisine world, this idea that he turns into a kaiju-sized monster with his dish. There's just so much here that I really, really like the sound of. Also, Broken Binding are doing a special edition and it's still in stock, so if that's something you're interested in, that will also be linked in the description below. Also coming out on July 22nd, we have The Library at Hellebore. The Hellebore Technical Institute for the Gifted is a premier academy for the dangerously powerful. The Antichrists and the Ragnaroks, the World Eaters and the Apocalypse Makers. Hellebore promises redemption, acceptance, and a normal life after graduation. At least that's what Alyssa Lee is told when she is kidnapped and forcibly enrolled. But there's more to Hellebore than meets the eye. On graduation day, the faculty go on a ravenous rampage, feasting on Alyssa's class. Only Alyssa and a group of her classmates escape the carnage. Trapped in the school's library, they must offer a human sacrifice every night, or else the faculty will break down the door and kill everyone. This just sounds incredibly unique. It's not like something I've heard before. It's such a bizarre concept for a story that I had to include it. It sounds really cool. And also the start does say that it is a dark academia meets cosmic horror. That's cool. Coming out on July 24th, we have Silvercloak. 2 decades ago, the Blood Moons ruthlessly murdered Saffron's parents, destroying her idyllic childhood. Hellbent on revenge, she lied her way into the elite Silvercloak Academy of Detectives with a single goal: find a way to bring the Blood Moons to justice. But on the eve of her graduation, her deception is exposed, and she's given only one option: go undercover and tear the Blood Moons down from the inside. Descending into a world where pleasure and pain are the most powerful currencies, Saf must commit some truly heinous deeds to keep her cover and her life. Not only are there rival gangs and sinister smuggling rings to contend with, there's also her growing feelings for the Kingpin's tortured son, and a curious prophecy foretelling his death at Saf's hand. With each day testing her loyalties further, Saf's web of lies becomes harder to spin, and when one false step could destroy everything and everyone she's ever loved, the mage who dedicated her life to vengeance may just have to die for it. Creepy underworld where this person's trying to take it down from the inside. Super cool concept. Really like the sound of this one. I also really like the cover for this. It's very minimalist, but it just really stands out. Coming out on July 25th, we have The Broken Sword by L.L. McCrae. This is the 3rd book in the Dragon Spirits series. Now, we have already gone over the synopsis for book 1 when book 2 came out, so I don't want to go over it again. Just a little reminder that this series follows Fen, who wakes up in a forest, face to face with a dragon spirit mocking him, and that is his only memory, that and his name. It's a high epic fantasy with a dragon spirit that seems to have this very sarcastic tone, which just sounds really, really fun. I do have the first book, Iron Crown. I've not had a chance to read it yet, but I'm really, really excited. I did get a chance to meet L.L. McCrae at Worldcon last year, and she's just awesome. So, highly looking forward to this one, and there's no better time to hop into the series now that the 3rd book is out this month. Coming out on July 29th, we have Black Cloaks, the 4th book in the Titan Hopper series by Rob J. Hayes. This is a coming-of-age fantasy in space. It has also been compared to Star Wars meets Naruto. This is another one that I've just been meaning to read for ages. I do have the first book there. And I do really like the covers to this series as well. So, looking forward to picking that up. And last but most certainly not least, coming out on July 31st, we have Borth of Dynasty. After witnessing the massacre of everyone he's ever known and loved, Mukuru Mukundi, the sole surviving member of the high noble house, Mukundi of Madada, vows revenge. He hides under the guise of a farm boy, Khalil Rasu, unaware that the real Kali's father is the bloodthirsty general of the Zenizel army. And under the direction of the king's scheming son, Prince Ephium was responsible for the murder of Mukuru's people. When the imposer claiming to be Mukuru shows up in the village, the real Mukuru, now Khalil, must bide his time amongst his enemies, pretending to be everything that he hates in order to get vengeance. In another part of the country where giants roam free, young Zikora Namani, the only daughter of Lord Nanami, knows nothing of the political intrigue. She wants a little more than to be a warrior, but a well-known prophecy places too much power on her small shoulders. And, as far as Prince Ephium and the king know, she's the only living threat to their dynasty. A threat that must be snuffed out. This just sounds like a really good classic fantasy setup. It does sound like it'll be very political, where we have this coming of age story of this young boy trying to have revenge, but also this secondary character who's already up in the echelons of the society, but she's being targeted. So I really like this sort of dual point of view of having kind of both sides. Definitely one I'm going to keep an eye on. And over on the Discord, we will be reading Kingdoms of Death, the 4th book in the Sun Eater saga. I'm really looking forward to picking this one up because I've heard it is devastating. So let me know in the comments below if any of these sound interested and if you're going to pick them up, or if not, what are you reading in the month of July? Thank you very much for watching. It's quite a cool month, I must say, and we've been really spoiled this year. The first 6 months have been great, so it looks like it's going to continue down that trajectory of awesomeness.